Florida's first hardcore festival. Black Flag, Saccharine Trust, Abusers, Roach Motel. From LA, Finders Lounge, get damaged for only $6. Finders Lounge, May 21st. Corner of Hallandale Beach Boulevard and A1A. Yep. Doors open 9 p.m. From a very humble piece of paper like this one, destiny was written and achieved. This camera angle is crappy. I'm going to do a live adjustment of my camera angle right here, right now, because I'm able to, because I got the power, baby. I'm going to tell you all these stories, this story here of my first ever punk rock show. I got to be in focus, properly centered, and looking good as my famous cheap camera will allow me to look. There we go. Now that's worth archiving forever on my YouTube channel. And of course here on my permanent Facebook records. Now I can say it, hey everybody, Malcolm Tent here, bringing you the latest episode of Tent Talks Tunes. I like to do it every single week. Live, Wednesday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the dreaded Facebook. And if you're watching on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, let me get my height adjusted here. I'm running ever so slightly late today. It's kind of weird. It's been heavy snow days here in Connecticut the past few days. You would think everything's mellow and relaxed, but no, it's not mellow and relaxed. It just means that I'm doing 7 times more around the house than I would normally. I've been doing all kinds of stuff. I have cranked out another hand-lathed 7-inch, a second edition of the Malcolm Tent Sings from the beloved songbook of Jello Biafra. I made 6 hand-lathed records of me singing Dead Kennedy songs. So I've been printing the covers and cutting them. Got the records in the mail. Look at that. Art made in Tennessee, cut by hand in real time. 6 of them. So I've been getting those ready to go out on the market. Got a bunch of other things getting ready to go out on the market, including this one right here. Here's a teaser for you. The Malcolm Tent Power Duo featuring Mad Brother Ward, Sonic Sauna. What on earth could that be all about? Not ready to go into all the details yet, but it'll be happening soon. It'll be happening soon. Hello, Janice. Thanks for tuning in. Robopuff Law, thanks for tuning in. And other people who are tuned in. Can't see you, but I know you're there. Because of the heavy snow we've had, it has indeed been kind of a slow mail week. We've been snowed in so deeply that I just haven't felt like digging out and going to the post office. But I did go one day, and I got this really great zine from Japan, Warzy's Web. It's an interview with Jeff Clayton, the unimpeachable president for life and lead singer of the almighty anti-scene, for whom I am the bass player and minister of propaganda. The interview in the zine, it's in Japanese. It's all in Japanese. I can't read it. They could be slagging me mercilessly, saying that I'm undernourished, that I'm balding, that I live in Connecticut. But I don't care because it's in Japanese and it's got my picture on it. That's pretty cool. So that alone makes it a good mail week. So don't forget my mailing address, P.O. Box 3626, Newtown, Connecticut, 06470. Send me stuff. I'll send you stuff back. We called it a mail trade back in the day. And this is thanks to Dennis at Jackhammer Records USA and Jackhammer Records Japan. I think I can speak for all the members of Anti-Scene that as a group, Anti-Scene cannot wait to go back to Japan. And I personally cannot wait to be a member of Anti-Scene going to Japan, because I wasn't a member of the band when they went over there last time. I want to go to Japan. Salute! All right, kids, enough falderall. I think that we've got everybody settled in and situated, and the camera's going to be as focused as it possibly is going to be, and it's got all the resolution it's going to get. So let's talk about the story of my first ever punk rock show. A cataclysmic event. I think it's more of a metaclysmic event, because a cataclysmic event is a destructive event. An anaclysmic event is a constructive event, and therefore a metaclysmic event has elements of each. And this event was definitely metaclysmic. It was a life changer, a game changer, baby. Let's just scroll down real quick and see who's in there. Oh, yeah, all kinds of people, man. We're going to have a nice little chat over the next few days in the comments section here. Please feel free to chime in and comment. I love hearing from everybody out there. Yes, I'm going to stay hydrated, John. Okay, here's how it went. Here's how it always went. And here's how it continues to go. If you've seen past episodes of Tent Talks Tunes, you've heard me name check a couple of institutions a number of times. One of them is Specs Music at the Westland Mall in Hialeah, Florida. Okay, we're talking about a time period now, late 70s, early 80s. Okay, so step into the time machine, flip the lever, and let's go back a few decades to a very special time in a very disgusting place. The early 70s, South Florida. That's where we are. Okay, so think about that. Specs Music and another institution which I loved, a radio show on WLRN FM in Miami called Radio Free Living Room. It aired Mondays late at night, which for a youth of my age, and yes, I was youthful at one time. I was a wee little lad in the late 70s, early 80s. To stay up late on a Monday night was no mean feat, because there was school the next day, and then a little bit later on there was work the next day. So to be up all night listening to the radio took some work. And you got to remember, we're talking about radio, baby. Not on-demand YouTube, not on-demand Hulu, Zulu, Voodoo, or whatever. It's like you had to be there at the moment with your hand trembling and sweating on that dial, waiting for the program to begin, and you had to be there to hear it. That's what it was like, and that's what I did to get the music that I needed. I would stay up late, I think it was 11 p.m., maybe midnight, and tune into WLRN and listen to Eric Moss and Radio Free Living Room every Monday night. Didn't matter how wiped out and tired I was the next day at school, or at my crappy job working in the warehouse, or at the inventory company, or bagging groceries, or whatever crud it was that I had to do to earn $3.35 an hour. Didn't matter. Didn't matter. I did it for the music. So I'd tune in, Radio Free Living Room. I had my boombox cassette recorder with a fresh cassette in the well, the record button pressed, and my finger on the pause button. And the DJ, Eric Moss, the great Eric Moss, would play one song after another and talk about the songs in between. And if I heard a song that sounded really good, I'd hit the pause button and record it and write down the name of the song and the artist on the cassette card, the J card that went into the cassette in the plastic box. So to this day, I've got cassettes of Radio Free Living Room that are all missing like the first, anywhere between 30 seconds and 45 seconds of all these songs, because it would take me that long to decide if I liked it or not and hit the pause button and record it. So one fateful night, 1981-ish, I heard this chugging bass line. 1.5 passes through that bass line. I hit the pause button and it kept recording. And then the guitar kicked in, and it was this jagged, discordant, hacking guitar, and then the drums kick in, and then the hoarse, barked vocals. $35 and a six-pack to my name! Six-pack! Loved it. Recorded the song. Eric Moss came on and said, well, that was the new single by Black Flag called Six Pack. Wrote it down. Black Flag, Six Pack. That was now stored safely in the trap for future reference as needed. We'll fast forward just a little bit. We're going to get now into late spring of 1982. I was in the 12th grade. I was a senior at American High School in Hialeah, Florida, home of the Patriots. School colors red, white, and blue. I can't make this stuff up, kids. It's true. And I was just starting to feel my oats. A little bit. Just a little bit. I think by this time I even had a car. I didn't get a car until pretty late in the game. My first car was a 1967 Buick Special that my parents paid $100 for. The deal was they bought the car for $100, but I had to take care of the upkeep, the maintenance, the insurance, the gasoline, and all that. So I had wheels, and I had also discovered independent music stores like Yardbird Records, Yesterday and Today Records, the all-time greatest record store that ever existed, Open Books and Records, which by now was in, I think they were still in Fort Lauderdale at that time, actually, but Open Books and Records, and also some of the cool chain stores in South Florida. Vibrations, especially. Vibrations was a very small chain, but they were really well stocked. They had tons of imports. They had lots of deep catalog. The occasional bootleg would sneak its way into the bins. And they had like all kinds of like a weird gift section and all that. So I was starting to go further and further afield in my pursuit of awesome music. So Specs at the Westland Mall had kind of fallen by the wayside by this time because they were just like a regular suburban record store in Hialeah, Florida. And I've talked about their punk rock section was about yay thick. You know, I was still able to mine a gem out of there once in a while, but by and large, I had sort of outgrown what Specs could provide me. But my oldest, dearest, bestest friend in the world, Jill, who's tuned in right now. Hey, Jill. Jill, I guess, would occasionally go to Specs. I don't know. But for some reason, she ended up at Specs one day, and she was there. And we were talking on the phone later. She said, "You wouldn't believe it. There's this guy who works at Specs now. He's into punk rock. He likes punk rock." And this is a revelation. Okay, this was a really big deal that somebody was into punk rock, like actually into it. Certainly at American High School, home of the Patriots, with 1,600 people attending school there were no punk rockers except myself. And it turns out now Jill, she was a freshman, mind you, and I was a senior. That was a very big deal at the time. But we were instant buds. So it was like me, Jill, and our friend Rick, who were like overtly into punk rock. And nobody else. We were outnumbered 1,597 to 3. Bad odds. You know, we had friends who were like kind of sympathetic to the cause, but by and large, if you said anything about punk rock, you were met with instant hostility, derision, and maybe even violence. Welcome to South Florida. So to hear that there was this guy at Specs Music who was like definitely into punk rock, big deal, very big deal. So we trundled into my 1967 Buick Special and went over to Westland Mall to meet this guy, and his name was Harry. And Harry worked behind the counter at Specs, and you know, didn't really have a whole lot to talk about really because he was on the job and we were just there loitering around. But we chit chatted a little bit, and he said, "Here, let me give you this," and he handed us a flyer for a show. My first show flyer. I was like, "Oh, Black Flag, that's the band. I know one of their songs, the Six Pack. Yeah. Oh, they're playing. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Thanks." I didn't know what to do with it, but I thought it was kind of cool, so I took it and showed it to the aforementioned Rick. Now, Rick was a guy who I met in ninth grade in chemistry class. He was one of those completely accidental twists of fate that had me sitting front row, front column in chemistry class with him immediately behind me. And somehow, for some reason, we would talk a little bit and chit chat a little bit, and I would talk about what I was into, which was music. And I mentioned, the kind of stuff I was into, which was Devo and the Ramones. And he was the only dude in that entire high school who did not immediately mock me or threaten me with violence for liking that faggot music, that punk rock shit. He actually listened and started to get into it himself. And so we stayed friends all throughout high school. And now senior year, he's got wheels, I've got wheels. This show is happening. I showed him the flyer, and I said, "It's kind of cool, huh?" And he said, "Yeah, why don't we go?" And I was like, "You mean me and you go to this event? Yeah, let's go." And it hadn't even occurred to me, because there were all these factors. I mean, number one, I was still only 17 years old. My birthday wasn't until September. This was in May. And then all you people out there from South Florida chime in. I believe the drinking age was 21 in Florida at the time. It was at least 18 for sure, maybe even 21. I think it was 21. So please let us know just exactly how underage we were at the time. We were underage. So I, being the somewhat rebellious but still law-abiding citizen that I was at the age of 17, I just figured, well, we're underage, we can't go. Rick said, "Our friend Danny works in the print shop downstairs in school. He can make us fake IDs." Wow, really? You could do that? Yeah, Danny he'll just make us some fake IDs, and we'll go to the show and use them to get in. I was like, okay, it sounds illegal, but yeah, sure. I went along with it, probably at least halfway thinking that nothing was going to happen. But sure enough, Rick shows up, and he's got these fake fake ID cards. And somebody's asking what year? 1982. Tony Latino, a key player in the game here. Everybody should salute Tony. Tony, love you and everything you've done for us in the South Florida scene. It's, Tropical Depression, the Tropical Depression Hardcore Show. Tony, welcome aboard. 1982. This is when this was. So I'm 17 years old. The drinking age is at least 18. And Danny, our friend in the high school print shop, has made these fake IDs. And I think they said something like identification card, and whatever the date of birth was, and there was a space for a photo. The only photo I had, like the only photo of myself that I had really was from my high school ID card. And that photo was taken when I was in the ninth grade, like 4 years prior. But it was the only picture I had, you know. You got to remember, this is pre-internet, this is pre-digital cameras. In order to get a photo of yourself, maybe you'd have to go to like the photo booth at Woolworths and pay 50 cents to get some, you know, like the little strip of black and white photographs. That's all you could do. And I wasn't thinking in terms of fake IDs. I didn't know anything about this stuff, so I didn't have a picture of myself except for my extremely outdated, having been put through the washing machine a few times, high school ID from my freshman year. It's like, all right, that's all we got. So I cut it out. It's a thick piece of plastic, right? I cut out this plastic picture of myself from the ninth grade, and Rick and I got into his car, and we drove over to the Hialeah post office, which was probably about 15, 20 minutes away. This is what we had to do to get into the show as underage wannabe punks in South Florida in 1982. We had to go through all this to just get into a show. We drove to the Hialeah post office, 15, 20 minutes away, and in the lobby of the Hialeah post office, they had one of those You Seal It machines. Does anybody out there remember You Seal It? You Seal It was a vending machine that you would put in a quarter into, go chunk with the slot, the quarter would disappear, and it would spit out a 4x6 packet of transparent adhesive plastic. And the idea was that you could take the plastic, peel it apart, and stick it onto a photo or stick it onto one of your kids or whatever and laminate it. These You Seal It machines were all over the place. I remember they had one at the Treasury Department Store. They had a couple at the Westland Mall. But the Hialeah post office was the closest place that we could get to a You Seal It machine. So we drove over to Hialeah, went into the post office, chunk, got the You Seal It's. I took the thick plastic photo from my freshman ID card and carefully laid it on the paper fake ID that Danny had printed and peeled off the You Seal It plastic, gently placed it on top, flipped it over, took the other sheet of You Seal It plastic, gently placed it on the bottom, and I guess cut it with a pair of scissors, and voila, a laminated fake ID. And he did the same thing. We were ready to go see a concert in Hollandale, Florida, which to me might as well have been Jupiter. And I don't mean Jupiter, Florida, although Jupiter, Florida was a long-ass way away, too. I was still young. I didn't know geography, man. I lived in unincorporated northwest Dade County. All I knew was that Hollandale, Florida was in Broward County. To me, Broward was just like, where's Broward? Is Broward in Georgia? Is it in North Carolina? Broward's like north. It's like way up there somewhere. It's way out there. Oh my God. Broward County. We're going to drive to Broward County and do this. I was very apprehensive about this. Very apprehensive. My old pal Jill was probably even more apprehensive than I was. Jill was and is the anchor in my life. I can always count on Jill to look after my best interests. And I want everybody right now to give a big thumbs up and a wave to Jill, because she's watching right now. And she truly is, you know, BFF is a term that's thrown around a lot. Jill is my BFF since 1981. So she's part of this story, as she is so many of the stories that I have had to tell over the years. So, mazel tov, Jill. And as Jill is pointing out, I lived within walking distance of the Broward County line. Like, I didn't know. I had no idea. I just knew that Broward was somewhere else. It was somewhere else, alien territory, and we were going to go into Broward Because nobody went to Broward. There's no need to go to Broward. There's no reason to go to Broward. There's nothing in Broward. If there was nothing in Dade, there was even more nothing in Broward. Why the hell would you go to Broward for anything? No need to know about Broward. No wonder I didn't know where it was. It wasn't anywhere. Except maybe a quarter mile from my house. Whatever. Whatever. I was young. I wasn't worldly. I was naive. I didn't know Jack. I knew Jill, but I didn't know Jack. So here we are. We're going to drive to Broward and see a show. What'd the flyers say? Doors open at 9 p.m. Okay, so that means... Okay, well, Rick knew that if the doors opened at 9, he had somehow sussed out that we needed to get there before 9. You had to be there when the doors were open. I didn't know any of this stuff. Clueless. I'd only been to 3 concerts in my entire life, and they were completely different affairs from this. So doors open at 9. That means you got to get there like, well, I don't know, around 8, I guess. Okay, cool. Let's go and get there at 8. So we hop into his car, and we take the long trip north on Interstate 95. Way up to Broward County, which I now know was actually about a 20-minute drive. But when you're young, and your sense of time and space is only relative to the amount of time you've been on the planet, and your sense of space is only relative to the actual space you live in, it seemed like a long-ass drive. Deep concepts, I know, but this is punk rock, baby. Punk rock! Punk rock. We arrive in Hollandale, at the corner of Hollandale Beach Boulevard and A1A, and we arrive at this dump right there on the beach. The entrance to the club faced the beach, and it was just your typical dumpy, rundown, neglected building on a typical dumpy, rundown, neglected stretch of beach in your typically dumpy, rundown, neglected county of Broward. The parcel of land that finders used to sit on now is probably worth about $287 billion and probably has a 900-floor luxury condo on it populated by millionaire assholes, because that's the new normal in South Florida. But back then, believe me, nobody cared. Nobody cared at all. So this place was a dump. First dump I'd ever been to. And we get there, and of course it's like 8:05 p.m. and the doors aren't open. They won't even be open for an hour anyway. In the best possible world. But there are people there. They're lined up. And I was following Rick's lead the entire time because I didn't know what to do. You know, I guess you go there and stand in line and wait. I didn't know. I was shell-shocked. I was shy to begin with. I was nervous, probably frightened even. I didn't know what to do. So I just kind of followed along with him. And we stood in line, and we stood in line, and we stood in line. And some people came and stood behind us, and then some more people came. Didn't talk to anybody, because I didn't know what to do. I did not know what to do or what to say, except just stand there. Stand there. Stand there. Stand there. And sometime around 9 p.m., I heard the sound of music coming from inside. It sounded like a band was playing. Yeah, there's a band playing. What's going on? How come? Why are they playing and we're out here? I didn't know. Once again, I just did not know what to do. Clueless. I'm 17 years old and I had grown up in the suburbs of South Florida. I knew nothing. And Rick didn't know either, I guess, because we just stood there in line and listened to this band play through the wall. They played a song, and then I heard it. I heard it. Hey, it's Black Black Flag. They're inside and they're playing. There's that song, Six Pack. Uh, we're missing it. What's going on? I don't get it. But I didn't know what to do, so I just stood there. And I heard them play Six Pack. I heard the words. I heard everything. Six Pack. And they finished the song. And we're still standing outside. And they played another one. And we're still standing outside. And I thought, well, okay, I guess we missed the concert. Can we go home now? I was like, all right, that's it. We're done. The adventure's over. I don't have to use this fake ID and get arrested. And I don't have to go inside to this dumpy place. And I don't have to do this now. We can just go home, right? And somebody said, oh, no, they haven't even opened the doors yet. So I'm confused. I'm like I'm bewildered at this point. But Rick wasn't about to go home. He wasn't going to turn around and go back. And he was driving. So I was stuck there. Waiting. It's past 9 o'clock. I don't know how long, but finally the line started moving and we started inching our way toward the door. And now I'm terrified because the moment of truth is coming up. I have to show my fake ID to the guy at the door. And I'm underage. And this is illegal, and I'm not allowed to be here. So I'm pretty sure Rick went first. The guy looked at his ID, let him in. Everything's cool. So I go up to the guy, and it's like this biker dude. I'd never seen a biker dude in real life. This dude was scary. He was older. He had a leather vest and was gnarly looking. And I'm like, here you go, sir. And he looked at this thing and he just laughed. He's like, no way, kid. My fake ID was that bad. The piece of plastic hand laminated to a piece of paper wasn't flying with this biker. He was having no part of it. But the people behind me, I don't know who they were, but they said, oh, come on, no one said it had to be a real ID. Let the kid in. Yeah, let him in. Go on, let him in. Yeah, you didn't say it had to be real. Let him in. And he was just like, whatever, $6. Paid my $6. I was in. So whoever those good Samaritans were behind me, thank you. So now I'm in. Now what? Well, like I said before, I'd been to a couple of concerts prior to this. I'd seen Devo at the Guzman Cultural Center. I'd seen Devo again at the Sunrise Music Theater. I'd seen the Pretenders at the Sunrise Music Theater. And those were all very civilized affairs, You go to the front door, you hand your ticket, an usher takes you down to your seat, which is a seat. It's air conditioned. Everybody is sitting politely. The stage is over there somewhere. You've got more ushers, and you sit there and the concert begins and you watch the show. This was madness. This was nothing like that. This was a dump. It was a dump. It was, first of all, this wall of cigarette smoke. It was like a solid block of nicotine walking into this place. Boom, hit me like that. And, I don't know how old this place was, but it had been there forever and not maintained in forever. There was this, like, rundown old bar to the right and this, like, wide open space to the left. And the stage was, like, right there on the other side of the room. But the stage was obviously, like, handmade, jury-rigged, plywood, paneling, whatever thing with a filthy carpet on it and like all this ratty band gear on it, and it was built right next to the bar. I don't remember if it was actually built onto the bar, but the stage was definitely like right up against the bar, and everything was like packed in and small and dense. The drop tile ceiling came to about here. on the performers. If you were standing up on that stage, your head was like, right about there on the drop tile ceiling. Give or take a little bit, but it was basically right there. Some of the drop tiles have been taken out and lights were installed, like floodlights were installed aiming down at the stage. This was not anything like the Guzman Cultural Center or the Sunrise Music Theater. This, my friends, for the first time in my life, was punk rock. And I was scared to death. I didn't know what to do. There's no usher, no one to tell me where to go or where to stay or anything. I just did not know. I was literally like a babe in the woods. Rick went off and did something. I have no idea. I lost track of him very early. There were all these people around, and they were like real punk rockers. And needless to say, they were all older than I was, and I was too scared to talk to any of them or approach them or anything like that. So I just kind of gravitated over toward the bar because it was like it was an anchor, to use that term again. And so I could just kind of hang out there and sort of, be safe from everything that was happening over there. And, meanwhile, there's, old bar flies there sitting there nursing their beers, and somebody was talking about, why don't we just take them out to the parking lot and stab the motherfucker? And I'm like, this is not unincorporated Northwest Dade. These people were frightening, and this place was dirty, and it was nasty, and I had no idea what was going on. I thought I had missed Black Flag. I didn't know what was going on. Why am I here? The band already played. This is nuts. This is just completely nuts. I'm trying to figure it out. And then after forever, some dudes get up on the stage. I'm like, oh, okay, so there are bands playing. All right, what is this? I didn't know what it was, but they started playing. And it was just like, whoa. This was the first punk rock band I'd ever seen in my life. Not only that, it was the first hardcore band I'd ever seen in my life. This was a band called The Abusers. It said on the flyer, The Abusers. Holy shit, the lead singer had a mohawk. I'd never seen a mohawk in real life. I remember he was down on his knees holding the mic like this, screaming into the mic with his eyes clenched and his face turning red and his veins popping out. Hippies suck! Hippies suck! Hippies fucking suck! While the band was like playing this like 5,000 mile an hour cacophony behind him. And over there to the left, people are slamming into each other and pounding into each other and banging into each other. I kind of knew that there was a thing called slam dancing, but they were actually doing it. They were there. They were like pounding into each other. And this band is playing like, you got to remember, I'd seen a few concerts. Like the first time I saw Devo, it was loud because I wasn't wearing earplugs and it was really loud. But it was a different kind of loud. The loud at the Guzman Cultural Center was like your ears buzzing. This was like loud right there, coming at you. We're talking about physical force. And this guy wasn't like, Chrissy Hind with her mirrored guitar and her makeup and her hair and her blue velvet suit. This guy had a mohawk and was like this right in front of me. And I was right in front. I don't even know how I got there, but I was like, even then I knew I needed to be close to this. I was scared to death of it, but it was intense and it was powerful. And these guys were laying down music that was faster and louder than anything I'd ever heard before. It was wild. I liked it. I liked it a lot. It was terrifying, but I liked it. So they played their set, and for the first time this entire day and night, time flew by. It seemed to me like they played for 10 minutes. It might have been 15. I don't know. But their set flew by like that. And I was just like, whoa, reeling, dude. I was like, whoa. And so then it came time to wait and wait and wait. And the crowd is getting drunker. And the smoke is getting thicker. And I'm like, I'm thirsty and I'm uncomfortable, and I've been standing there all night long, except for when the abusers played their 3 minute set. And it's just like, it's getting later and later and later, and finally the next band goes on. And there are all these dudes. It was something else I'd never seen before. They all had shaved heads. I don't think any of them were wearing shirts. I remember lots of baggy jeans. Lots of beer bodies. They were like a weird looking flabby bunch of dudes with shaved heads. And this, I guess, oh no, they just said it's Roach Motel. Roach Motel, okay. And it was kind of the same deal. Like the lead singer was, down on one knee and like screaming and yelling, and the music was fast. In the songs, I remember Brooke Shields must die, Brooke Shields must die, and I hate the Sunshine State, I hate the Sunshine State. I was like, oh, that's funny. And I saw their set list. There was a song called Burger King. I didn't know you could do a song about Burger King. You can write a song about Burger King? I thought that was hilarious. And Brooke Shields must die? That's funny. Now you're gonna die? Frightening, but funny. And at one point during the set, like my mind is already melting into a puddle at this point. I was already just like this. Too much information. At one point, the lead singer is down on the knee, and somebody coughs up a great big gob of phlegm right in his face. And he's singing, and this phlegm hits him, and he goes like this. Just smears it down his face and never stops singing. I thought I was going to puke. But I didn't, and he didn't, and they kept playing, and by now I had already seen enough for at least a lifetime at this point. I was already just like, whoa. Whew. They end their set. The people over there stop slamming into each other. And oh, by the way, my friend Rick was over there in that knot of people slamming into each other and banging into each other. This was a dude who 4 years previous admitted that he only had one record in his collection, and it was a ballet record. And there he is, slamming into these people while I'm over here at the bar just going, ugh, waiting for the bone chips to start flying out and the blood to start pouring. He's in there with his flip-flops, slam dancing. Well, fuck me. What have I created? Wow. So anyway, they're done. We'd been outside and we heard Black Flag play. So I went up to Rick and said, okay, well, time to go home. And he said, no, Black Flag hasn't played yet. And I said, we already heard them play. And he said, no, they didn't play yet. I said, they already played. So I went to go look for somebody who looked like they knew what they were doing. Because I sure as hell didn't. If you hadn't guessed already, if you hadn't gleaned onto the fact that I didn't know what was going on. So I find this older dude. He was like an old guy, probably in his 50s, like myself, wearing a button-down shirt, gray hair, slicked back. He looked like he was in charge. I said, excuse me, is the concert over? And he said, no, we still got the Saccharine Trust and Black Flag left. And I was just like, oh, okay. Because by now, I'd already had my mind blown. Not once, but twice. First by the abusers, and then by Roach Motel. I'd seen a mohawk. I'd seen some guy get spit in the face. I had heard the loudest, fastest music I had ever experienced in my life. I was done. I was like, that's it, kids. I don't need any more. I'm over. This is it. Get me back home to Hialeah. I want to go to bed. I'm tired. I'm thirsty. I was done. But Rick wasn't done. And all the people were still there milling about. And Black Flag and Saccharine Trust hadn't played yet, so I had to tough it out, I suppose. At this point, I was dying of thirst. I had no money. And I wouldn't have known how to order a drink at a bar anyway. And I don't drink. I'm straight edge. I didn't know that you could go up to the bar and ask for a glass of water, and they had to give you a glass of water. I didn't know. So I went into the men's room, and I remember the men's room was really gross. He was really nasty. He was so gross and so nasty that I didn't even want to drink out of the tap in the sink. I didn't want to go near it. So I kind of looked at that and turned around and went back out into the hellhole that I was in, and it was hell. It was hot. It was smoky. It was arid. I was parched and dying of thirst. It was late. It was going on forever. I was surrounded by crazy people talking about stabbing somebody and slamming into each other and playing huge music at loud volumes. And I was 17 years old and frightened. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I was in hell, and this night was lasting forever, and I was thirsty. But a desperate child will do desperate things. So I went out the bathroom. I was walking toward the bar, and I saw somebody left like their unfinished drink. It was like a tumbler full of ice, and that's all there was. And there's nobody around there, and it was just sitting there, and I stared at it, and I stared at it. Nobody's doing anything with it. I stared at it. No, nobody's doing anything with it. And I furtively walked over, grabbed the cup of ice, and took it away. So, okay, things are looking up. I've got some ice I could chew on and, melt, and it's solid state water. Okay, this is going to help me survive until something happens. And this really did go on forever. The breakdown time between Roach Motel and the touring acts was, it seemed like hours and hours and hours. But I had my cup of ice, and I was starting to calm down a little bit, and everything was cool. After about 15 hours, the next band comes on. And that was Saccharine Trust. And Saccharine Trust was a whole different thing. Their lead singer was this guy with like curly black hair, and I seem to remember like a big baggy red shirt. I don't remember the other guys in the band. I remember the drummer was like kind of young and happy looking. I remember the bass player. I will never, ever forget the bass player. Like the guys in Roach Motel all had shaved heads and, played rock and roll. This dude was a legit, as far as I could tell, skinhead. He was about, 75 feet tall. He had a legit buzz cut. His front teeth were missing. He had a giant tattoo on his arm of the Saccharine Trust logo with a snake nailed to a cross with a laurel victory wreath around it. That's heavy, man, because people didn't have tattoos back in those days. You go to Brooklyn now, and every mom, dad, and 5-year-old's got a full sleeve of ink on them. The only people who had tattoos in 1982 were convicts, bikers, junkies, and this guy from Saccharine Trust, who I wasn't going to mess with. That dude he was heavy. That was Earl Liberty, people. Earl Liberty, the bass player for Saccharine Trust. That dude was literally, awesome. That's a word that's thrown around a lot. This guy inspired awe. And the music was really good. This was a whole different animal from what I had seen earlier with the Abusers in Roach Motel. This was like artsy, psychedelic, hallucinogenic, and the lead singer, Joaquin Milhouse Brewer, was kind of like sort of reeling around with his eyes rolled back in his head and doing this tortured poetry thing, and the music was jazzy and propulsive, and it seemed like it never stopped. And once again, for the third time this night, time just flew. I was like, yeah. As usual, I don't know what's going on here, but this is something. This is really something. I need this. And so, Saccharine Trust plays. Not much, no slamming, if I recall correctly. There wasn't any slamming going on. The crowd was a lot more subdued. I think a lot of people might have left when they played, but I loved them. Saccharine Trust blew me away. And so they play, and now the moment we've all been waiting for, the band with their one-hit single, Six Pack. Time for Black Flag to play. And by now I'm kind of wound up. I'm ready now. I've been tortured. I've been in hell in this smoky, hot, arid, run-down dump of a room with a bunch of maniacs slamming into each other. And whew, the fright was kind of subsiding a little bit. I felt like a weathered veteran at this point. I had my cup of ice. I was ready for Black Flag. I had never seen Black Flag. I'd never seen a picture of them. I didn't know nothing about them. I assume they're a punk rock band, right? What does a punk rock band look like? Well, kind of like the Abusers, or Roach Motel, It's guys with, colored hair, spiked out hair, leather jackets, leather pants, boots, chains, buckles. You know, they looked like, what was that band? What were they called? The Exploited, I think they were called. Yeah, the Exploited. That's what a punk rock band looks like. So imagine my surprise when these guys all come up on stage and start setting up gear, and they start putting on the guitars and making sounds like they're getting ready to play. I'm like, that cannot be the band. That can't be the band. Is that the band? Over on that side, the guitar player had really long hair. He was wearing this, like, button-down shirt. His guitar was clear plastic, and it had a guitar strap with peace signs and doves on it. Like, okay. I don't know who that farm boy is, but I think he's the guitar player. The drummer behind him was this, like, really young, smiling, like, beach bum guy with blonde dreadlocks. I had seen dreadlocks because we had a large Jamaican community in South Florida, so I knew what a dreadlock was, but I'd never seen a Caucasian with dreadlocks, let alone blonde dreadlocks. Suntanned, fit, behind the drums. I'm like, okay, so that beach bum is the drummer. We got a farm boy and a beach bum. Now here's this guy. He's got a bass guitar on. He's also dressed like a total slob, with baggy rundown pants and a baggy rundown shirt, and he's totally bald, like male pattern baldness, like what I got, but he had nothing on top. And he's playing the bass, and he's like walking around in circles and thumping on the bass. He looks like an auto mechanic. So we've got a farm boy, a beach bum, and an auto mechanic. And next to the auto mechanic is a full-blown hippie. This guy had hair down past his shoulders and a beard, and also dressed like a total slob. But he had the guitar on, and he's making sounds with it. So okay, we got a farm boy, a beach bum, a car mechanic, and a hippie. It's like I at this point I give up. There's nothing I can even begin to try to process, And then there's the lead singer, this guy with short curly hair and a beard. And I thought Earl Liberty's tattoos were wild. This guy's tattoos were insane. I mean, they were like kind of just all over his arm, and like on his pecs and whatnot. They were just kind of randomly placed. And he's stalking the stage back and forth like a caged animal, just back and forth, just like, like practically foaming at the mouth. And oh man, I'm really nervous, but I'm getting excited because this looks like it's going to be interesting. And so, they're tuning up and they're making their noises, and this animal is pacing back and forth. And then without much ado, the first song begins. It's TV Party Tonight! TV Party Tonight! And my good friend Jill told me that this band that Black Flag had a song called TV Party. So that's it. That's Black Flag. Whoa. And they played their set. And to coin a phrase, it was just like a bomb going off. This had ratcheted up the intensity level quite a bit further. He was just like this hippie and this car mechanic and this beach boy and this farm guy and this fucking animal just like lurching at you and stumbling back and lurching at you. And the music was like this. It was just like attack, retreat, attack, retreat. It was like an avalanche. It was just like chaos, and it was louder than fuck. It was like I said earlier, man, this was not like the alarm opening for the Pretenders and being loud and making your ears buzz. This was just like being pummeled with sheer volume and noise and mayhem and chaos. And I'm just like, oh my God. And of course, the lead singer, the guy with the rabies and the tattoos and the stalking all over the place. I'll never forget when they did the song Damaged. That's Damaged 1, the last song. Last song on side 2 of this one right here, the song Damaged. This guy was like stalking. He ended up on the bar. He was stalking on the bar, and he's screaming his guts out, like trying to turn his entire body inside out without using his hands. He was just like an animal. And I'm watching this. And at one point he stalks past me on the bar, and I don't know if he wiped the sweat, but like all this sweat fell on me. Like, man, that didn't happen last time I saw Devo. This was like so real and so intense and so dangerous and so messed up. And I'm 17 years old, and I'm from Hialeah, Florida, and I'd never been outside of Dade County in my life, practically, for all intents and purposes. The only world I knew was malls, shopping malls, and the local grocery store and the beach. This was something different. This was like from an entirely different reality. Like these guys were just beamed in from somewhere. And I'm just watching this, and this guy screaming, and this band, and the clear plastic guitar, and the drummer. I forgot that I was in hell. Or at least I knew I was in hell, but hell wasn't such a bad place to be. Maybe hell was okay if it was like this. And I remember at one point the singer said, "Can I get a glass of water? Can I get a glass of water?" And I guess someone tried to hand him a beer. And he said, "I can't drink that stuff. I need water." And I thought, oh, it's kind of like me. He doesn't drink beer. Wow, that's really something to file away. That impressed me greatly. It still does. Water, baby. He wanted a glass of water. He didn't want the liquor. Whoa. This performance, this nut is fueled by water? God damn. Maybe I'm not stupid nuts after all. Maybe there are other people who think this way and can run on fuel like that. Water. Water. Whew. Time was compressed. The show flew by. They played Six Pack. Yay, Six Pack. And I didn't know any of the other songs. I didn't even know if they were songs, quite honestly. I didn't know. I just heard this din. Even though I was wearing earplugs. After that first Devo concert, I've worn earplugs ever since. It was still just like this din. And I was listening to my recording of the show earlier today. I didn't make this recording. I got it from Jeff. Oddly enough, Jeff Hodap, who was later in Roach Motel, he had a cassette of the show, which he let me dub. I was listening to my recording of it, and it still sounds like a din. It still sounds like you couldn't tell what song was what. But, it gave me what I needed. It gave me the information that I required. I will to this day not say that I was influenced by it. It wasn't an influence. To me, an influence means that you are influenced to do something by somebody, and you try to be what they are. This was more like a glimpse into something that could be done and a clue as to how it could be done. And it gave me the idea that some things are possible. Some things are possible. So it wasn't an influence, it was an indicator. I was getting the indicator about something that was possible. And seeing all these insane, crazy people slamming into each other, including my friend Rick, and all these scary leather coat, leather-clad people, they were still people. And this was on a whole different level than it was when it's a whole bunch of neatly sitting suburbanites at the Sunrise Music Theater. This was just different. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was something that somehow, even though I was over here and they were over there and the band was over there, somehow I was in the middle of all this. And I couldn't consciously put it together, but it showed me something. It showed me something. And it was what I needed. And the fact that these guys looked as completely unpunk rock as they did, you know, there was not one molecule of stereotype on that stage when Black Flag played. Not one molecule. No artifice. It was just completely, utterly what it was. And I don't know, I mean, the only time I ever thought that maybe I wanted to look punk rock was when the Plasmatics were on TV. It seemed like every single week in 1981. And I thought Richie Stotts was the coolest looking thing I'd ever seen with his blue mohawk. At that time, I wanted to get a blue mohawk. But after seeing Black Flag and seeing again the possibilities, that idea never entered my head again. And I don't know if I can really actually say that, you know, Black Flag is responsible for that, but it certainly crystallized it. Because I don't think I ever would have really seriously gotten a blue mohawk. I really don't think so. But it just showed me the possibilities of what you could do without a blue mohawk. And it was pretty cool. So after that, the show was finally over. And I was wrung out like an old washcloth. I was spent. Rick was glowing because he got to slam into a whole bunch of people and bang around and didn't even get his feet stepped on, as far as I could tell, wearing flip-flops. Hey. Time to go home and drive to unincorporated Northwest Dade, where my BFF Jill, she made me promise her that I would call her on the phone when I got back from the concert, because she was worried about me. That's what kind of a friend Jill has been for me my entire life. So we get home. I reek of tobacco and third-hand cigarette smoke, and my head is spinning. But I pick up the phone, call Jill. Sure enough, she's waiting up. She was waiting up to hear from me. It was probably at least 2 in the morning by this point, which is pretty damn late when you're a 17-year-old sneaking out with a fake ID to see a concert. I called her. She picked up, and I said, yes, it's okay. I'm safe. I didn't get arrested. I didn't get killed. Rick's okay. He didn't get knifed. Everything's fine. I got to get to sleep. Good night. And so that was it. That was basically it. The next chapter of the story for Black Flag came when, a little bit like, I started collecting Black Flag records. I, of course, finally did eventually get the 6-pack single. Got not only the US pressing, but the UK pressing, which, if you notice, has a different drawing. If you look at them side by side, try to get them lined up here. Those are different drawings. Completely different drawings from one pressing to the other. So being the collector that I am, I got both versions and started, I got the Nervous Breakdown single. And Jill ended up getting the Black Flag Damaged album, which I really coveted because it was really hard to find. We all know the story behind the difficulties they had with that album. So she got it right before it was pulled from the market, and I really wanted her copy of Damaged. So I had a copy of Heroes by David Bowie, which I didn't really like that much. She had Damaged, which she didn't really like that much. So we each took the records we didn't like that much, traded them. I got Damaged, which has been a bellwether record for me for the past almost 40 years. She got Heroes, which enabled her to totally ignite her love affair with David Bowie, which goes on to this day. We both won. Yay. There it is. Still got it. And I played this record over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I dissected this mofo. And even now, at the age of 56, I'm a happy dude. I really am. I love life. I love my life. I got a good thing going. Everything's cool. But every now and again, I'll put on this album, and right from the first hi-hat hit of Rise Above, I'm like this. I'm like this. And I stay this way for the entire album, and I crank it so loud that the neighbors want to complain. And it feels good. It feels good. It feels real good. This one will never be washed out of my life. Ever. One final postscript before I sign out. Standing next to me at the show was this very normal looking, what I perceived to be older lady. She had long blonde hair and glasses. And I was like, who is this? And what is she doing here? She was probably looking at me and saying, who is that? And who let him in? You know, kind of thing. To make a very long story short, that was Leslie Wimmer, who co-owned at the time, Open Books and Records, which is where I ended up working, which is what set me on the path that led me directly to where I am now. Leslie was also a photographer, and I went into Open Books and Records once, and she had on the wall an 8x10 black and white print of the lead singer of Black Flag, who by now I knew was named Henry Rollins. She was standing next to me, and she just whipped over and took a picture of Henry and made an 8x10 print of it. I was like, oh my God, I need that. I need that. She sold it to me after signing the back of it. Thank you. I think she charged me $2 for it. And I kept it, and I still got it. But imagine my surprise. Imagine my surprise when I, like the dutiful fanboy that I am, got my copy of Get in the Van by that guy, the lead singer of Black Flag. And I've read this book voraciously. I can pick this book up, open it to any random spot, and start reading. But, you know, when I first got it, I'm reading it from start to finish. And, you know, I get to 1981, and then I get to, oh gosh, I wonder if he wrote about the show in Hollandale that blew my mind. Did he write about Finder's Lounge? Ooh, I can't wait till I get to that part. So I'm going through the book and going through the book and going through, and holy shite, I turn right there. Hold on, let me get the information right. Can't do it without my glasses. Page 41. And there it is, in the book, Get in the Van. The picture taken by Leslie Wimmer, who I did not know at the time and would not properly meet for a while yet. That is the picture that Leslie took of Black Flag as she was standing next to me in the middle of hell at Finder's Lounge in Hollandale, Florida. And that crystallizes my memory of Black Flag, my first ever punk rock show. That's the way it looked. And there in the background, there's that hippie, or I guess that's actually the farm boy. That's the farm boy, Greg Ginn, with his peace sign and dove strap, beaming in signals from another world that unlocked a door that I needed to go through. And that's the story of my first punk rock show. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in and listening. This episode of Tent Talks Tunes will be, of course, archived forever. For as long as there's a Facebook, you will find it here on my page. So watch it a lot. In the event of the untimely demise of Facebook, we got YouTube. My YouTube channel has got a whole bunch of Tent Talks Tunes and other videos with moi and my various bands. So go to my YouTube channel, subscribe to it. Thank you. Don't forget to go to my Discogs and eBay store. Look up TPOS. Thank you very much. Help keep me alive. Keep me alive. Only you can do it. Because I'm like Blanche Dubois. I rely on the kindness of strangers who have good taste in music. Thank you. So I hope to be back in about 167 hours' time. Until we meet again, this is Malcolm Tent saying so long from the Nutmeg State.